welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse. I've got Todd Evans from the Contrarians, Rush fans, and Ryan's Vinyl Destination here today, and we are talking Guadalcanal Diary. We are going to take a look at their 4 Elektra albums, do a review, and have a general discussion. Guadalcanal Diary was an American alternative jangle rock band who originated from Marietta, Georgia. Band members included Murray Attaway, Jeff Walls, Rhett Crow, and John Poe. The band formed in 1981, released 4 albums for Elektra, and disbanded in 1989. They reformed in 1997, releasing a live album, but never again recorded new material. After going on a hiatus in 2000, the band temporarily reunited for a second time in 2011 for AFFest, where they celebrated their 30th anniversary. But before we start with the program, let's look at some upcoming and current programming on the channel. Peter Jones and I just compiled a best of heart that went from 1975 to 1980. Stay tuned as Peter will join me once again as we look at their 1982 to 1993 catalog. Todd Evans, Reed Little, and I discussed our 2 favorite Cure tracks off the first 4 albums. This episode was just recently aired. Please stay tuned as we look at Head on the Door, Kiss Me, and Disintegration next month. Check out our panel discussion on Obscure Albums number 4. This was just live streamed last week, and the panel had a blast. I thought this was going to be the last episode in the series, but the panel voted, and the series will continue. Stay tuned for more episodes in August. Ryan, Davey, Rand, and I looked at the Beach Boys' 1970 album, Sunflower. I want to thank everyone who showed up for the chat. This show was a blast. Stay tuned because next month we are taking a look at Carl and the Passions. Coming soon on the Contrarians, Martin, Marco, Todd, and I took a look at the Doors. This is what I consider the Contrarians' quote-unquote extreme episode. I'm not sure when this will be released, but please keep your eyes peeled for this upcoming episode on the Contrarians. Please like, subscribe, you know the thing. Let's get to Todd and Guadalcanal Diary. Todd Evans, how are you today?
Hey everybody, doing well, thank you.
Ready to talk some Guadalcanal
Sure,
Diary? Oh,
always.
I'm sure you are. So folks, we're just going to do like a basic album review, look at their 4 records. Well, I don't have Watusi Rodeo. You've got it on the Rhino Handmade set though, right?
No, I don't. I actually have never had that EP.
Oh,
and,
okay.
And the only Rhino Handmade I have is 2x4, and I don't think it has that stuff on it.
Yeah, because that's on the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if we want to mention that or not, but I've got a graphic ready to go.
Yeah, show a picture of it because
Okay.
I never got it because it was relatively rare back in the day.
Yeah, it was on Entertainment on Disc from 1983.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bizarre album cover, but it had the only track that ever came out later was, well, let me look. Watusi Rodeo was on the
Yeah,
first
Watusi
record.
Rodeo isn't on that because they called the EP that, but Murray hadn't written the song yet. So
Michael Rockefeller
is on it. Yeah.
See, those I've never heard those, but that's what the EP looks like. I'm sure you could, if you want to look for it, you can find it, but it's never come out on CD other than the Rhino Handmade.
And I guess that material on Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man, the Rhino Handmade of that?
On the Rhino Handmade of that. Now, I've got this, and it's not on here.
Yeah, I have that too, and yeah.
I think this is just a clone of the Elektra CDs, because I know Shadow of a Big Man's a rather rare CD. You never see that.
Yeah.
And you never see Jamboree either.
I've got rips of those on my computer, and they sound identical. The Walking in the Shadow tracks sound identical, so I think it is a clone.
Yeah, usually collectibles. If there was already a CD version out there, it's just a clone.
Yeah.
But this CD sounds fine, I think.
Cheesy graphics, but they always do a good job on the actual
Yeah, the graphics
music.
are horrible. They put this Epiphone on there. I don't understand that. But it sound-wise, I mean, it fits in with all these other Elektra CDs that have came out. But anyway, so there's what Watusi Rodeo looks like. Let's jump over to the first album, Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man. So Todd, what is your take on this record?
I think that it's actually quite shocking that this record sounds as good as it does for being technically a debut album by a band.
Well, I think a lot of their stuff, at least their Don Dixon records,
Yeah,
I think they all sound pretty familiar.
but
Not
yeah,
familiar, but similar.
but that's par for the course for all the DB Records stuff or DB Rex, however you want to say that. I remember hearing those records when I was in high school, senior in high school, and the first years of college, thinking that every time that this sounds like Guadalcanal Diary and the Swimming Pool Cues, I think these records sound like their major label. Their quality is high, and Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man is no exception.
I think the quality on this record is very high.
Yeah,
and traditionally it's gotten good reviews.
Yeah, great, man. I always say that it's like Guadalcanal Diary has 4 secret weapons, but I think their most powerful secret weapon, I think, is John Poe, the drummer.
Oh my
and
God.
Man, does he make a statement on this record? I really, quite honestly, have never heard another drummer like him. Uses almost no drums. I think a snare, a floor tom, and I think one extra tom and a hi-hat and a couple cymbals, and that's it. But boy, does he make a mighty sound, and he really makes a statement on these songs. And the playing is good, and the songs are sophisticated for being debut album songs. And Watch As You Rodeo is fantastic. Obviously, everybody goes to that one first because that's the most fun. But Trail of Tears, Fire from Heaven, Sleepers Awake, just really, I know I've used the word sophisticated before, but I'm going to say it again. Just really grown up songs for a band so young. And Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man Part 1 is just fantastic. And Kumbaya, the way that ends with all the people shouting and hooting and hollering.
I want to say something since you mentioned that. I had to revisit this record. Of course, I've been listening to it on and off since we've been doing this program. Well, since we talked about it and we postponed it. The way it starts out, you would never think that it would end up where it does. Yeah. I swear to God, they're channeling The Who from 1968.
Yeah.
And I have never heard a drummer quite like this other than Keith Moon. I swear to God. It's amazing. And
there's just electricity there.
And do people talk about this guy ever? The drums on this record are incredible. If you're a drummer, you have to check this record out or anything in their catalog.
And it came from a place where there were a ton of fantastic drummers, the Georgia music scene. I mean, there was Bill Berry and there was Curtis Crowe from Pylon, all just spectacularly good drummers. But John Poe might be the best. I mean, he really might be the best.
If we only Peter Jones on here. Peter Jones, if you're anywhere around here, you have to check this record out, and we need to know your take on this guy's abilities or his. I think you'd be blown away.
Yeah. So I don't know. Are we rating these records?
Might as well.
Okay,
I don't have a ranking yet, but I think my ratings are they're kind of similar, but they're not.
Oh, okay. So are we going out of 5 here?
Let's just do it out of 5. That's the traditional rating system.
Yeah, Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man gets a 4.5 by me. One of the best debut albums I've ever heard. And even though it's short, you don't notice it.
Yeah, I think it's great. This is what I hear on it. I think it's an incredible debut. I think maybe I should leave this towards the end, but what I hear with this band is I hear a lot of different influences and not so much originality with them. It's almost like they have a sound, but they don't have a sound, if you know what I mean. Everything's well played. But, you can listen to REM, and obviously REM was influenced by Big Star and the Birds and I don't know, Cheap Trick maybe, I don't know. But when they're combined as one, they really have a unique sound that just sounds like REM. When I listened to Guadalcanal Diary, and I'm not trying to be critical, but I think this might have been their downfall. This might be why they never caught on. It's just a theory, throwing it out there. I'm giving this record a 5 stars. I think it's a wonderful debut. I think the songs are great, the production's great. But what I hear on this record, I know this is kind of going against my review of 5 stars, but I think this is a jangle pop masterpiece. This is the only record where they sounded pure jangle pop to me. This band, let's say you want to look into this band. This is what I hear right away on Trail of Tears and all through the whole record. I hear REM, I hear the Birds, I hear the Long Riders, and I hear Big Country. You take all of those bands, combine them all, put them in a, mix them up in a bowl. This is what you've got. And you hear different parts of them at different points. Like Fire from Heaven. Excellent, catchy, very jangly. Oh my God. You've got Sleepers Awake. Very REM. I can't think of a more REM kind of song than this. All you needed was Michael Stipe singing on it and you'd be good to go. And I'm going to throw a loop for you, Todd.
Okay.
But Gilbert Takes a Wheel, to me, sounds like Let's Active.
Oh, it does. Yeah, I agree with that.
And it's a wonderful instrumental. Their instrumentals are kick ass, I think. I think that's a lot of bands, they throw an instrumental on and you think it's filler. This band, their instrumentals are as strong as their regular tracks.
Yeah, and you look forward to them. Like, remember at gigs, people would look forward to them. I wanted to say one thing about there being different influences within the same band. I'll talk about this more when we get to the later records because I think the divide becomes more obvious the further you go on. Mm-hmm. But you had everybody wrote in this band, but you had 2 main writers. You had Murray, and that's where the jangle pop comes from. Mm-hmm. But with Jeff Walls, you had kind of a whiskey-soaked beer hall kind of Americana / what's the word I'm looking for? Rockabilly kind of thing.
I think alt country. I think alt country, almost a country rock flavor. That's where I keep thinking I hear the Long Riders because the Long Riders in this band are very similar.
Yeah.
And I love the Long Riders.
That is not my favorite kind of music. I like it, but it's not my favorite kind of music. Right. But in Guadalcanal Diary, I think that the Jeff Walls tracks are just fantastic diversions into something fun, but fun in a different way. And I mean, if you've never seen this band, Jeff Walls was, may he rest in peace, larger than life. Mm-hmm. And so when you saw him, he had on some kind of, crazy suit, and he was, a big guy and a beard and big smile and just completely really happy to be there and just really found a lot of joy in playing, and you can't help but love the guy. And so this band helped me like that kind of music.
Yeah,
because it's just infectious, his enthusiasm.
But it's amazing how well those 2 types of Jeff's and Murray's music go together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect blend. You can hear the track and it just fits right in. It's not jarring or anything. It's just, okay, they're just doing something else.
Yeah.
But I just hear so many different bands in here all the time that I'm just going, what the heck? I can't help it. And then let me throw this out. Watusi Rodeo, that sounds like the Long Riders. And, of course, the Long Riders sound like the Birds. Everybody's been influenced by everybody else.
Yeah.
And then you hear, Why Do the Heathen Rage? Holy mackerel. If that doesn't scream the Birds, I don't know what does. It's like something off of Mr. Tambourine Man. Holy crap, I thought this was like a Gene Clark song, for crying out loud.
But and you know what? And I don't. This is something that I don't really know a lot about. Like Southern folklore or anything like that.
Mhm.
But there's something very Southern about the lyrical content, and I
Yeah.
think that the first album is where you see the most of that. There's
Mhm.
something very I can't think of a better word. Southern.
It's very Southern.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't hear so much. Well, I get to the right album. I mean, this album is very what I would call jangle pop, I guess. And later albums, they more turn into more of a power pop band to some degree. But there's another on the other record. See, we're gonna get through it real quick. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this,
Right.
but
Right.
all I do basically, I do give this a 5-star for a debut. Songs are great, production's great. Yeah, there's a lot of influences on it, but I highly recommend it. It's an excellent listen. And I don't give the rest of them this high rating, but I do this one. But yeah, there's a lot of influences on here. It's
Yeah.
all good. So, we're going to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Jamboree. 1986. And this one, I must say, we have two different producers. Well, the first album was Don Dixon. Now we've got Rodney Mills and Steve Nye. But I must say, the song, the tonal characteristics of the album do change a bit. It's not jangle pop anymore, I wouldn't say, though you still have some of those tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, new producers. We're in 1986. We had 2 years. We had a year off in between. So, Todd, what do you think of this record?
A couple things I want to start with. Elektra actually wanted them to go ahead and go right in the studio when they signed them, but the band asked for a re-release of Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man because they didn't think that it got enough saturation, and so this ends up being the second thing that Elektra releases after they sign him. And Rodney Mills was a Georgia guy. He was I meant to look up his discography before I came on, but I believe that he's produced 38 Special and some bands like that.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, and
okay.
so he was an Atlanta guy, and that seems like maybe not such a good fit, but I wouldn't say that it didn't work, because I think that Jamboree sounds like $1 million. I was lucky enough. I was back when in my record store days. I was lucky enough to be invited to Elektra's listening party of this record in Atlanta, and it was really fun to be there. And I think that this record it's different from the first one, but I'm not going to say that it's a step down or a step up. It's just different. I think that it starts really strong. I think Pray for Rain and Fear of God are both really strong track. Actually, Jamboree too. It's got a good 1, 2, 3 punch of the first 3 songs, and great drum sound. More of a mainstream rock kind of sound, but it doesn't really strip out John Poe's style too badly. They'll return to Don Dixon, which I think is the right move for later albums. But as far as this one goes, I'm not unhappy with the way it sounds. Michael Rockefeller, the 4th track, is the song that was done on their earlier EP, and but they brought that back for this. Spirit Train is a really cool song. Lonely Street, if I remember correctly, the word was that the label wanted the band to add that song, and the band wasn't sure they wanted to do it, and the label wanted it because they thought that it had some commercial appeal.
I agree. And I put on there, Todd, I said my notes, I put catchy.
Yeah,
it's very jangle pop, power pop, great. It's very catchy. I wrote on here, this could have been the single.
Yeah. And I'm not sure why it wasn't, because if that story is true about the label wanting it on there, I'm not sure why it wasn't a single. But Country Club Gun, I think, is one of the first times when you really get that Jeff Wall's kind of
Mhm.
rowdy kind of rock and roll song, and it's super effective there. Trouble is really kind of a stylistic departure. It's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Can you help me describe that one? I can't. It's like,
Trouble.
yeah, it's like
I
I, I
wrote.
I'm trying to describe it,
Oh,
but
you know what I wrote
I
down?
can't come up with the words.
Okay, if you are a bar band and you play in a dive bar, that would be a perfect song for a dive bar.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
that's what
way
I
I
was
think
going
of it.
for.
Now, what, folks? I don't know what kind of music you'd call that. I don't know if that's honky tonk, but I dive bar. That's what I
Yeah,
call it. Hmm.
yeah. Now, I saw this band probably somewhere between 20 and 30 times from this period, 1986, on through the next 3 or 4 years. And I See Mo was a showstopper. I See Mo, I think, is, yeah, a minute and 28 seconds.
I love that
And
song.
that's the perfect length. High energy, like you wouldn't believe. And John Poe really comes through on this one.
I never see Larry or Curly. I just see Mo, and
It's
and
still
that song
funny.
is alt country all the way.
Yeah, definitely.
And you hear a lot of alt country. I'm going to call it
Well,
alternative
and
country.
the next song, Please Stop Me, is like an alt country ballad
Yes.
with a really super dark lyric.
Hmm.
And then Dead Eyes comes after that. I think the last four songs are like similar to the first three songs, just super strong. Dead Eyes is crazy John Poe, just all over the
I
place.
wrote down the
And
same thing. I wrote killer drums, heavy, reminds me of X.
yeah,
But
yeah,
oh my
that's
God,
a
it
good
sounds like
observation.
X.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Um,
And then Cattle Prod, of course, is just ridiculous. It's just, we're not even going to talk about the lyrics of that, but just is super bold to have that kind of lyrical content.
yeah.
And just, man, talk about something that sounds, southern and rural. I don't think it gets any more rural than that. But yeah, just for an album that never came out on CD, I guess it didn't. I guess until later, until Collectibles put it on
But
there. But Elektra didn't put it out on CD, and it must not. It must have missed whatever the threshold was
this
for
one came out
CD.
on CD, right?
It did, but
I've never
Jamboree did
seen
not.
one. I think I might have seen one in the wild once, and they wanted an arm and a
I
leg
used
for
to
it.
own one. Yeah, I used to own one.
God, I
But yeah,
hope you got some
Jamboree.
money out of it.
Jamboree never came out on CD until that Collectibles disc, which I think came out in 2002.
Can't see
But
it, but yeah, probably. Ernesto, I want to tell you what they sound like real quick. If you took REM, the Birds, Big Country, Long Riders, you know what I'm going to say too, Todd? I'm going to throw the Who in here too.
yeah, I think
There's a
so.
lot of Who in here.
Yeah.
And you take all those bands and you put them in a blender, you come up with Guadalcanal Diary. They're just a mixture of so many influences.
But the rhythm section and the guitar playing is so distinctive that it doesn't end up sounding like this weird, inconsistent melting pot of stuff.
No,
It ends
no,
up sounding like Guadalcanal Diary.
yeah.
Uh, for a band that made a splash and then disappeared, I think they have to be one of the most unique sounding bands of any band like that.
They're
My
very
rating,
unique, but then very familiar.
yeah, yeah. My rating for a Jamboree would also be a 4.5 out of 5.
I gave Jamboree a 4.0 because,
I can see rating it lower, but it was when it came out, I was so happy to have it.
but they do avoid the sophomore slump. They
Yeah,
did never hit it.
yeah.
They constantly put out quality records, as we're going to find.
And some of these songs ended up being live staples that they never stopped playing.
Right.
So
Um, I would say that Pray for Rain's a bit of a departure, more alt country. In fact, I think Jamboree's a much more alt country record than a jangle pop record, and it's a bit harder. But then you've got the second track, Fear of God, and we go right back into the Birds.
yeah,
Just when you think we're starting out the record in a certain way, draws you back into something off the first album. Jamboree, love it. It doesn't. I can't. That's a funny thing. Jamboree, I can't put my finger on that song. I love it. It doesn't sound like anything that came before it, but I don't know how to classify it. Michael Rockefeller, I think that's more Long Riders. Lonely Street, we got Jangle Pop, Power Pop, very catchy, like we talked about. I think that could have been the single. I can see why they wanted that on the record. It's great. Country Club Gun has great harmonies, a little heavy, twangy guitars. You've got that. Someone's playing a Telecaster. I guess I'm going to classify it as alt country because I don't know. And then Trouble, we're hanging out in that dive bar some more. I never see Larry, Curly. The lyrics in I See Mo are just absolutely a hoot. More alt country. All side two is very alt country, more than anything. And then the only thing I want to add is Cattle Prod reminded me. See, what year did this come out? This was 86?
86, yeah.
What year did Monster come out? That was 80.
REM?
Yeah. 89?
89. Wait. Is that 90s? I think Monster is
94, 95.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this predates it quite a bit because
Yeah.
if I listen to Cattle Prod, it reminds me of REM Monster. I swear to God.
I never thought of that, but I could see that. And another artist that I want to throw out there that is pretty obscure. I'm not sure anybody's going to remember it, but Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper.
Yeah.
Some of the last 4 tracks of the Jamboree album kind of sort of reminds me of that kind of stuff. Ernesto has a really good question, but what's his name?
Murray
Attaway. He was hang on, let me get to my notes here. He was signed by Geffen after the band split the first time and made an album called In Thrall, and with an all-star cast: Jackson Browne, Amy Mann, Benmont Tenk, Nicky Hopkins, and it did not chart. But
well, back in the day, Todd, that thing you could find it in the cheapie bins all the time, but I haven't seen it in years.
Yep. And then there was a second album, but Murray Attaway asked to be released from his contract for some reason, something to do with the personnel at Geffen, and so they did, and then he never found a home for the follow-up album, so it shelved.
Did you ever pick up that solo record?
The first, yeah, I have it. I actually have both. I actually have a pre-release copy of just electronically of the second album.
Wow.
And
cool.
I don't have it in front of me. But yeah, Ernesto, not really. There was an attempt to take the lead singer and turn him into a solo career, but it didn't take. Sorry, Grant, you weren't done with Jamboree, but I saw that and I was like, "Ooh,
no. This is how we do it, Todd. There's no format. We're just talking." Christopher, what's up? Greetings from Sweden. What are you listening to? Well, we're listening to Guadalcanal Diary. You probably don't have them in Sweden. No one really knows who they are here in the States anymore, so. The opening riff sounds like Soundgarden. Well, possibly. I don't know.
The opening riff of
what song?
Of Pray for Rain, you could say that about. If he's listening to Jamboree.
Yeah. I think that would fit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I mean, it's almost as good as the first
I can
album.
see giving it a lower rating than the first album.
I mean, they haven't done anything yet that set the world on fire or made like giant leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're starting off with such a strong record, how do you know what I mean? It's hard to maintain that. But I think it's a fine record. Would I recommend it to somebody looking into this band? Oh my God. Of course, get the second album if you can get it. I'd get any of them so far. All right, let's go to 2x4. What's your thoughts on that, Todd?
2x4, they teased a lot of these songs live. Back in the day, they played Little Birds and 3 a.m. and Newborn and Litany. And I want to say Please. But so I knew it was going to be good before it came out. but I think it's really good. It's probably, in my opinion, it's probably the best one. Litany just starts out just on fire and just stays that way. Litany, Life Goes On, the first song. It was a single, didn't gain a lot of traction, but there was a video on MTV that got played, and all the video, if you look it up on YouTube, all the videos that are around of it they're very few and they're not very high quality. So if anybody wants to make a, I guess if they made a Guadalcanal Diary video release of all their videos, it'd be a pretty short video, but I think it would have 2 songs on it. But there was a video for that. You go into the second track, Under the Yoke, and you get more of that Jeff Wells southern kind of rock kind of thing. Get Over It is another one of the really choppy songs where drummer John Poe is kind of dominant. Little Birds, acoustic ballad by Murray. Things Fall Apart really sounds like that one actually really sounds like a band effort. Like when you hear it, it sounds like Guadalcanal Diary, and you're not sure whether it's a Jeff Wells song or a Murray Attaway song, and that's a good thing. There's some cohesiveness there. Let the Big Wheel Roll is all Jeff Wells, I'm pretty sure. And Your Bird Can Sing, the Beatles cover. Do you not like that?
Well, I don't like Beatles covers at all.
I like it.
We already established that in the past.
Yeah.
I
forgot about that, Grant. You're right.
Yeah,
well, I'll just skip over it.
No, it doesn't bother me. You can tell me what you like about it. I don't.
No, I just like it because it's a not commonly covered Beatles song.
Yeah, it would be a hard.
And
hard
I can see how the rhythm guitar part, which is really challenging, would be appealing to Jeff Wells and how he would want to try it. So that I get. Wangel Sphere to Tread is another kind of a more rock, southern rock kind of a thing. Newborn is another 3 a.m. and I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Little Birds and Newborn are both Murray songs, and they're quieter, more atmospheric Murray songs, and there hadn't been any of those yet. So that was a nice departure, and I think he's really good at that. Winds of Change is another solid song, another song that doesn't necessarily sound like any it sounds pretty cohesive. Say Please, I think, is a standout track on this album, and it was again another song where Jeff Poe is front and center, and I'm sorry, John Poe is front and center, and it's another song that was very popular live. Say Please, and stayed in their set and never left. And then 3M is another slightly atmospheric song, and then Lips of Steel is kind of like this driving mid-tempo thing that's really super cool. Sorry, I'm having trouble coming up with good words to describe.
No, you're
that
good.
one,
you're fine.
Other than I'm just going to say super cool.
Let me see what I wrote.
Yeah, what'd you write for Lips of Steel? It's hard for me to describe it.
1960s psychedelic rock is what it is.
It's got a psych thing happening.
Oh, it's very psychedelic.
Yeah.
And to end that record with that, I was, I listened every time it comes on, I'm going, did they really do that? And I go, well, why not? They have so many, they're so into so many different types of influences. You know what I mean? It's just like, it doesn't surprise me at all that they put a psychedelic song on here.
Yeah, and I wanted to say about Say Please. I was talking about one of the songs earlier on from Jamboree, and I was saying, it was a real John Poe feature. He's got this thing where there's a lot there. He does these songs that have a lot of tom fills in them, but there's lots of space in them too. Like he'll stop playing and then start up again. He's a very, very tight player, and together with Rhett Crow, they were a very tight rhythm section. And so Say Please is the kind of song where they really show how tight they were by, putting some space in there and having it be, just all guns blazing and then silence. It takes a really good band to pull that off. But yeah, I give this album a 5. This is my favorite.
It's considered, their best album. If you look at the reviews, like Trouser Press, I mean, said that the band members dip into their shadowy art rock past to create music as distinctive as the lyrics.
Yeah, that's a really good.
That's a good quote, I'd
Yeah.
say.
You know what? Give me just a second because
Yeah.
I have some photographs of a show and they're
All
not at
right.
arm's length. So let
All
me
right,
go
you
get
get
them.
them. I'm going to answer some questions. So,
They were almost at arm's length.
so Christopher said that the opening riff of "Pray for Rain" sounds like Soundgarden.
I don't disagree with that. I think they kind of do.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And then, Ernesto, yeah, I said they were on Electra in 80s. Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie, glad you're here. So glad for this episode. It brings back good college memories, good vibes. OMG, Mojo Nixon and Skid Roper is another blast from the past. Anyway, you guys are great, and thank you for the great content. Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah, in course or necessary, vinyl or only CD only. Well, we addressed this kind of in the beginning. I think it's probably easier to, well, I don't know anymore, Todd. You probably look for more vinyl than I do, but I haven't seen any Guadalcanal Diary albums in
Well,
years.
behind me, you can see a copy of 2x4. It's
Yeah.
a promo, and
Mhm.
I got that probably, I don't know, 6 months ago. And so I found that in the wild.
I found in the wild. This is an actual
Same
Electra
here.
pressing
Yep.
of 12x4, and there are not many of these floating around. Flip Flop, that's a CD you can get this. This is plenty. You go on Discogs, this isn't expensive. There's plenty of them. If you can get it, get it. But Collector's Choice put out a 2 for CD of the first 2 albums.
I don't know if that's still in print, but you can still order it.
No. You
can
can?
still, yeah, I saw it on Amazon. It was
Maybe
probably
it still is.
It was probably resellers, but I didn't really investigate. But yeah, I don't think it's super rare or anything.
I can't imagine it'd still be in print, but this sounds great. Rhino Handmade put the first, I don't know how many they put out. Did they do all their records?
I think just Walking in the Shadow of the Big Man and 2x4.
So you could look for those on Rhino Handmade. I can't imagine those would be inexpensive. But a lot of those, this is kind of going off on a tangent, but you ever notice that like a lot of those Rhino Handmade titles would eventually appear on collectibles or
some other label
or One Way or Wounded Bird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well,
they sort of sold them as something that this is premium. You better buy it now. Only a limited number of copies. You better hurry up and order it. And then if you wanted to get one, you could still get one.
So no best of?
Not that I know of.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff's all out of print. Grant hoarding CD. I'm not hoarding. Well, I could be a little bit.
So I want to.
I'm not, Ernesto. I'm not proud.
I want to show some photographs because they're about the right time for this.
Okay, go ahead.
Guadalcanal Diary used to play all the usual joints in Athens, Georgia when I was there during school, and I graduated in '87, but stayed in town for a while after that. They used to play, the Uptown Lounge, just where I saw them the most, in the 40 Watt Club. But for some reason, I think it was between 2x4 and Flip Flop, they played at this place called O'Malley's. And O'Malley's was one of those kinds of mainstream places. It was in an old mill building. And it was one of those places where, kids from the dorm went to drink. And so Guadalcanal Diary played there for some reason. And it was in the middle of the week. It was like a Tuesday. And I got there and I brought my camera, and my camera had a telephoto lens, and that's the only lens I brought. And I got there and I found myself standing right in front of the stage because hardly anybody showed up. So the only pictures I got, I don't know if you can see these, but there's Murray with Rhett Crow behind him. See how close I am to him? I couldn't back up.
Holy crap. And what year is this again? 87?
This is 87, 88. There's Jeff Walls right there.
Nice.
And here's the master right here, John Poe. See the sorority girls standing behind him, watching him. And there's another one of Murray. And oh, sorry, I didn't leave that one up. You
No,
can see Rhett behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And this one here is Bill Berry and an unknown woman.
Hanging out.
REM, everybody but Michael came to see this show. So this is the best one. This is Peter Buck and Murray and Rhett Crow and Jeff Walls. And at the very, very end there, you see Mike Mills. And if you look at...
Just hanging out. Hanging out.
And now look at Peter Buck's face here. You see him noticing me?
It looks like Peter Buck 1987.
Yes. He said, "Hey, you with the camera, get over here." And so I thought, oh, God, here we go. I'm going to get a tongue lashing from Peter Buck. And he said, "Take our picture." And it was him. It was him and Murray Attaway. And they said, "Do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is what they did on 3. They lifted each other's shirts up. And I was so close to him with my telephoto lens, I could only get Murray. But I just thought I would share those because
I'm telling you guys,
that was
Todd
a weird
Evans
situation to be at a place like that with a band like that and have nobody be there.
No one's had quite the life like Todd Evans has.
It sounds better than it is.
Oh, that's bullcrap. I would have. That's awesome. You were there, right there. The right place at the right time during the right era.
I was lucky.
You were lucky. But you have seen so many people. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. Well, folks, that's why we have Todd on Grant's Rock Warehouse. We're going to rename it Todd's Rock Warehouse.
You don't have to do that.
But we're going to do one episode where it's going to be Todd's Rock Warehouse. I'm going to do the graphics and we're going to let Todd just do a show.
That would be fun.
That'll be fun. We'll do that. Well, let me just zip through. Let me look what time it is. We're good. Let me just zip through my thoughts on 2x4.
You don't have to zip. We've only got one more album left.
Well, I know. I guess. Yeah, you're right. First thing, I hear the first opening track and I hear more power pop. Under the Yoke, I really don't know what to think of that record. Get Over It, I think of the Plimsolls, power pop, love it. I wrote in my notes, I think Get Over It is a single. Well, it seems like they put singles like deep in the record. And I don't think they released any singles off of this. Not
Litany.
that I know of.
Litany was a single.
Was Litany a signal? Okay.
And there may have been a second one, but Litany is the one that comes to mind.
Because my notes, I see nothing that mentions
There's an MTV
anything.
video.
Okay. Well, but I think Get Over It could have been one too.
Yeah,
Little Birds, slow song, more late 60s type of tune, harmonies. I think that's very unique. Things Fall Apart, the first thing that I hear on that are the drums. I mean, this record is a lot of power pop. That's what I hear, as opposed to Jamboree, which is more alt country. But, Let the Big Wheel Roll. I don't know about you, but I hear the Ramones. Like there's a Ramones influence. Not that it sounds like the Ramones, but that riff could have been a Ramones song.
Yeah.
Andrew Burke can sing. I'll skip that. Where Angels Fear to Thread. That's another Jeff Wall song, and it goes to that whole Long Riders, Birdsy kind of REM thing. But the rest of the record, Say Please, though, I must say, that's another one of those songs that reminds, well, we talked about that before, and you're looking at it. If I could swear that's an X song.
Yeah.
But I think Murray wrote it, but
I'm glad you said that because I'm
very X.
Put my finger on exactly what that reminds me of. And I think that's it.
Mm-hmm. And then 3 o'clock a.m., I think of REM. Mm-hmm. Lips of Steel, we got 60 Psychedelic. I know everyone thinks this is their best album. I still go with the first record. I give that a 5. I'll give this a 4.5. I think it's a bit stronger than Jamboree. But like I said, Jamboree's no slouch, Todd. It's it's a fine record.
Yeah.
I would be happy to be in a band and have that in my catalog.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if you've got any photos of the band to show, but I think that the photo that's in 2x4 is a real good example of their image. It's kind of, they're all sitting on top of cars at night in the South. I just think that shows off their personalities really well.
John Wright, we can't play any samples on here because the YouTube police would intervene. Even though some people get to play stuff on the channels.
We could pretend we've never heard them before. And then
I don't know what would happen if we played something. One day I may try that.
You may try.
Probably with Guadalcanal Diary, it might not pop up on the radar. You know, you get some of these obscure bands. It might though. But yeah, I wish I could play a sample. You're gonna have to go to Spotify, and I don't even know if they're on Spotify. You're just gonna have to.
They're on. They were on Apple Music. They're on YouTube Music. Okay, so they should be.
That's what it's all about: the music and being at the right place at the right time. And Todd Evans is that guy.
Ernesto goes on to ask if I take it this band isn't together anymore. No, we talked about that a little bit at the beginning, and we should probably talk about that at the end about what happened to them. And where they
we will. We'll circle around.
Yeah,
John, I'm glad you understand now. We don't want to upset the YouTube or the Facebook.
It is so hard to talk about something that I love as much as this band without being able to play it. It is so hard.
I'll tell you, John, you know what's probably even worse than the YouTube police is probably the Facebook police. Right. Okay, this is a quick story because we can do a tangent real quick. I bought a boombox, a Sanyo boombox like I had when I was a kid. Okay. Found one. It's the same one that it's not the same one, but same model. And, you know, I did a video on YouTube and I still have a whole bunch of cassettes back in the 80s that I recorded that I still have them. So I made a video on Facebook and I just said, here, I got this boombox, blah, 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 just throwing it out there. And I played I don't know what it was, something from like 1985, 87. And I got flagged on Facebook, like that.
I bought a reel-to-reel machine at a antique store about 3 years ago, and I played maybe 7 seconds of Last Train to Clarksville, and I immediately got you should probably take this down, and I didn't. I just left it on, and nothing.
I didn't. I took mine down. I think. I'm pretty sure I did because I didn't want to end up in Facebook jail.
Right.
God knows you don't want to do that. I don't want to upset.
What a terrible punishment to be away from Facebook.
I hate
for a couple days.
Yeah, I'd hate to upset the algorithm.
Right.
All right, so now we are up to 1989's Flip Flop, which is the last Elektra record. And I'm looking at all the information like on I can't even say it. Wikipedia. God darn. And they have no information on that record at all.
So I have lots to say about Flip Flop. It's all good. Are you ready for me to?
Well, let me get the graphic up. So
there you go.
We want to make sure there we go. That's what it looks like. Not the greatest cover, but it's
not the greatest cover. No.
1989. Yeah, go ahead. Take it away.
So Flip Flop, again, they played, they teased a couple of these songs. If you went and saw them live, and thing about Flip Flop is shorter than 2x4. It's 10 songs, but there's a perception that Flip Flop isn't as good as 2x4, and I don't agree because I think that there are some songs on here that are really top notch. I think Look Up. It starts out with a whole lot of energy. I don't think necessarily that Always Saturday is their best song, but I think you could argue that it is. I think it's really strong. I think as far as like a power pop song goes, I agree
with you 100%. Every time I hear it.
Now, the video is super weird. The video is super weird. It's like this family grows out of the ground and something happens and they all start getting sucked back into the ground. But interspersed with this weirdness that's the video, the storyboard for the video, the band is like sitting in a car and like kind of lip syncing it. And they're like, the windows are down. They're hanging their heads out the window. And I think Murray's sitting on the hood and the rest of the band is in the car. And you see them all electrate out. You see them all Ret Crows wearing makeup. And I mean, you see them just totally, this is the label trying to give you an image of this band. And
Is this the last hurrah?
It feels like
let's.
the last gasp. It feels like the
Mhm.
record company is saying, we're going to spend a whole bunch of money on this video. Here they are. If it doesn't work this time, we're done. I have no idea if that's how it went down, but that's what watching
Oh,
that
I
video feels
guarantee you.
like.
I guarantee you that's the way it went down.
But it's a
That
little
just makes
bittersweet.
sense.
It is so good to see them, and they look fantastic.
Hmm.
And you think, oh, okay, well, that's the last I'm going to see him in a video. The Likes of You is a really strong track. The third track, that's actually written by. Actually, there are 4 songs that are
John
written
Poe.
by John Poe on this record. Barometer is kind of a cool Murray Attaway song, and Happy Home is another John Poe song. I feel like after Always Saturday, tracks 3, 4, and 5, aside one, kind of lose a little bit of steam.
Hmm.
But Whiskey Talk is absolutely amazing. Track 6. That is it's written by Jeff Attaway, and Murray Attaway and Jeff Walls, and it is the most Jeff Walls songs out of any of their songs. I mean, it actually ends with like a drunk guy shouting and a bottle falling on the floor. I mean, it just doesn't get any more whiskey soaked than that.
I want to add something to that. That is a perfect analogy, but I could totally hear that in the dive bar.
Yeah.
But out of all their tracks, though, Todd, I've never heard anything as, how should I even describe it? I'm going to describe that as garage rock.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree.
That is total
100%.
garage rock. So it's interesting when Jeff and Murray combine, this is what we get.
Yeah.
But it's a great song. I
Yeah.
could see just any band playing in a bar just playing it.
Yeah.
The energy, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 pop songs follow it. Pretty Is Pretty Does, and Everything But Good Luck. Pretty Is Pretty Does was really popular live. Both of those written by John Poe. And but probably, if Always Saturday is the best song, then 10 Laws is the second best song, and 10 Laws might be the first best song. But 10 Laws is really, really good. Almost prog rock. Just really just a super sophisticated song.
I still hear REM in
Oh,
that, though.
oh yeah, I hear REM in that a lot. And then if Fade Out, I'm pretty sure is kind of psychedelic as well, kind of like
heavy.
Lips of Steel was, and super heavy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, now I'm gonna talk about the last song in a minute, but you don't get one of the things that you don't really get on this album so much is one of those John Poe led, really super choppy rhythmic songs like Say Please, and what's the one on what's the one on Jamboree, I See Mo.
Okay, yeah.
But one of the things that you do get is you do get this super joyful song called Vista, which is based on a song that the bass player Rhett Crow used to sing when she was in camp, and when she was a kid. And that one's co-written by her and Murray Attaway. And she starts out singing it, and then Murray takes it. But that's the closest thing you get to one of the really super rhythmic songs. And it is very similar. I adore it. And
I adore it too. I think that's one of the best songs on the record.
Yeah, and
even though the way it starts out, Todd,
yeah.
I'm going, well, I don't know. But man, when it kicks in with that riff.
But what she does when
I love it.
You can hear her cracking up like she doesn't think she can get through the vocal.
It's
and that's what it was like when they played it live.
Oh,
She's
really?
not comfortable in her skin when she sings at all. And it's so charming for that to come across on the record exactly as it does live. And then the band kicks in and just absolutely just is on fire. And it's very similar to Kumbaya. It's just the band is just on fire. I mean, not a similar song, but it's very similar in its presentation.
But the energy, they really know how to end a record.
Yeah.
And make a statement.
Yeah.
I swear I love that song.
I think that this album has really incredibly high highs. But it does lose a little momentum in the middle. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I'd like to give it a 5 because the songs I really love. And Don Dixon, we need to say some more words about him. That guy is a genius. He's one of the best producer engineers I think I've ever heard. And if you see Don Dixon on a record, you know it's going to be good. He is produced some really diverse artists and started his career working with Mitch Easter, who we've talked about on this channel.
We love Mitch.
And I just think Don Dixon is just an absolutely fantastic producer.
Mm-hmm.
And him doing these two was a good idea.
And he did the first album.
And
Don't
he
forget
did the first one. Elektra was. I don't know whether Elektra picked Rodney Mills and Steve Nye for the second album.
I don't know what the story is.
But they were right to go back to Don Dixon.
Yeah, it's great. It constantly puts out good results. I'm not taking anything away from the second album. It's fine.
Yeah.
I gave it 4 stars for crying out loud. My take on Flip Flop, the general consensus for Flip Flop is that it's a 3-star record.
Yeah, that's what I read too.
I don't hear that.
I don't either.
I think I would give it a 4-star rating. I think it's as good as anything they've already done. But it's funny, in the used market, you can find that, well, you never see it in the bins, let's say that. If you go on Discogs, there are plenty of them available, and they're not too expensive. Unlike anything else on CD with Guadalcanal Diary.
Right.
I don't know how much the vinyl is. I've not looked in years. I mean, even back in the 90s, you didn't see very much Guadalcanal Diary in the bins.
I've had a Guadalcanal Diary vinyl copy of Flip Flop before, and don't ask me why.
I know I've got some. I should have pulled it. Todd.
I've only ever seen a promo. I've never seen one that actually looks like somebody bought a vinyl copy of Flip Flop. And
I know I bought the first album for $1. So they might have been dollar records back in the day, but now they're probably $15, $20.
Well, this is a fun band to collect too, because the first album is available on DB Records and on Elektra. So
I didn't realize it came out on DB Records.
Yeah, you can collect them all. Yep.
I've never seen that. I'm looking.
It used to be common in the South, but not anymore.
Well, Lord knows you never find the Rhino handmade CDs.
No,
now that since I've got these, it makes me want to look for that first album to get the EP. You know, on CD.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't know where you'll ever find that. I don't know where you're ever.
I have held the EP in my hand. One of my
never
college
seen it.
roommates had it.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, I give Flip Flop a 4-star record. Look Up sounds very Long Riders to me. It's just, the thing is that it's more of the same of what's came before. Did that kill the band? I don't know. I don't think that they ever really grew. They had so many different styles that they could bring into their wheelhouse that I don't know. I'm just surprised they even got signed to Elektra, because I don't know if they ever knew really what to do with them.
But you know what? They got signed to Elektra at a time when there were some people at Elektra, and I should probably research more so that I could sound like I know what I'm talking about. But there were some people at Elektra that really knew how to scout for talent.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when 10,000 Maniacs got signed. And shortly after that, in 1990, They Might Be Giants got signed. And something happened at Elektra, and that the good people got let go. And 95, 96 is when things started to fall apart at Elektra. But and Guadalcanal Diary called it quits before then. So I don't think that there was an issue with Elektra. I think it was just that they couldn't figure out a way to break them out of their fan base.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it was just that the amount of people that liked them were the right amount of people, and maybe there weren't any more people, but some very high profile people liked him. And for them to be able, for Geffen to be able to get Jackson Browne and Amy Mann and Ben Montenk to want to be on Murray's first album, there was some buzz about
I'm sure,
them.
I think they had a lot of friends that were musicians. There were a lot of musicians that were into this band.
Yeah.
And
couple of things I wanted to say about the band before we close.
No, you're good.
Murray, I believe it was Murray and Jeff Walls were actually they started in Marietta, Georgia, which is very close to where I live now, which is a suburb of Atlanta. And they both worked at a restaurant in the mall. They worked at a restaurant in Cumberland Mall called the Magic Pan. It was a crepe restaurant. And that's what they worked together. And then they initially formed a band with a punk band called Strictly American that included Curtis Crow, who was became the drummer later for Pylon. And Curtis Crow and Rhett Crow, the bass player for Guadalcanal Diary, are brother and sister.
Right.
And one of the things that happened late in the career of Guadalcanal Diary is that Rhett Crow married Jeff Walls, and they had a baby.
I didn't know that.
This was, I want to say 88. And so they're all very, very close. And from what I understand, that's what it says in the Wikipedia article too, is that they were tired from heavy touring, and they began to drift apart. They decided they would rather break up the band and preserve their friendships. So they played their final show in 1989, and then they came back in, like you said, 97, I think, and they made a live album called At Your Birthday Party, which I have electronically. I don't have a physical
Isn't
copy
that a Steppenwolf album?
Up. What, at Your Birthday Party?
Yeah,
it might be.
It is.
It might be. And then in 2011, they reformed and they played in something called AFFest. In Athens.
Why did they call that? It's so hard to say.
It is hard to say. Yeah, but Murray Attaway and Jeff Walls have been playing with each other at that time. They had a band called Bomber City, in which they would play like solo songs and Guadalcanal Diary songs. But I went and saw them. They did a second show in Atlanta in 2011, and this is the 30th birthday party poster that's signed by the four of them. There's Jeff Walls down there and John Poe.
I see the Rickenbacker headstock.
Yeah. And
there's
so
2 Rickenbackers.
I was thrilled to be able to go to the show. That was one of those things that is like a bonus event, because you think to yourself, okay, well, I've seen Guadalcanal Diary for the last time, and then I got one more time. And unfortunately, Jeff Walls passed away in 2019 of a rare pulmonary disease. And there was a benefit going for him at the time to try to raise some money, because he needed a surgery, and then he ended up not even getting to the point to have the surgery. But I was absolutely devastated by that. I mean, to see him so many times, to see somebody larger than life. Jeff Walls was just, man, he had a presence, and to think of him not being with us anymore was really hard for me. But yeah, just such a great band, such nice people, and really easy to talk to, and just really nice people and super talented. And I'm glad that Elektra signed them, because they had some good years because of that, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I think you pretty much covered Flip Flop. I don't think I have much more to add. I just think that
I think it's better than the reviews.
It's better than the reviews. It's the jangle pop thing's gone, even though there might be like one track, which I would say probably would be. There's a little bit of power pop there. It's really, I mean,
Pretty is as pretty does, I think.
Yeah, I'd say that would be it. I do hear a lot of Smithereens on here, like The Lights of You sounds like Girl Like You.
Yeah.
Which well, that would have been the right time to
try that. Yeah.
But it's in that right era. I'm just saying, everybody's influenced by everybody else. And I would say Happy Home sounds a little bit like Let's Active. 12 strings back on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Whiskey Talk, Killer distorted guitar. We got that, garage rock like we mentioned.
Yeah.
I give it a solid 4. I don't have any issues with it.
They didn't make any bad records.
No, but I love Vista. Oh my God. I recommend you have whoever's watching this and you like REM, you like 80s, you like God, Let's Active, though I don't know who's into that, but Smithereens, the Long Riders, Big Country, the Birds. You should check this band out. I think you'll like it.
And if you like drummers, if you like drumming,
if you like Keith, let's say you're a fan of Keith Moon, you definitely want to get this record.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, they've reissued their albums by Rhino. The bio said that.
Yeah, I can only think of two that Rhino reissued.
On vinyl? No, I can't imagine that. But
No,
maybe
not on
they did.
vinyl, but he just says Ernest is just saying their albums. So
Oh, yeah,
no,
well, the Rhino handmade ones.
those are the only two I can think of is the first one and the 2x4
Okay. Yeah, oh, yeah.
on CD. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Ernesto. Sorry. But, you know, we're living in that era with all the vinyl reissues, so I'm not surprised they haven't put them out, but I can guarantee you they'll never put these out. They might. I don't know who owns the rights to these records. I'm surprised the band hadn't put them out or reissued them, but they're pretty obscure now. You know, Todd and I are doing these videos. Hopefully we can give this band some love and people can, that's what this channel's about. You know, I'm never going to have a bazillion viewers, 10,000 subs. Never. Not if we do content like this, but no one else is covering this stuff as far as I know. So
They're not.
And it's sad. So hopefully we can turn you on to some other bands. That's what the bio said on Spotify. Well, at least they're on Spotify, I guess.
Yeah, I would like for that to happen. I mean, like we were saying, you can get them all. They've all been on CD at one time or another.
In some type of, even the, right. Yeah. So you can find them. Just depends on how much money you want to spend, but you know, listen to it on Spotify. That's fine, I guess. But you know, I'm not really, I'm more of I gotta have physical media. I just hate spending my money on something that could just disappear overnight.
Yeah.
You know, or a download, or I don't know. It just seems like Spotify doesn't have any soul. You know, it's just, I don't know.
Well, and there are times when that's the only way you can get something, and if that's the case, then it's better to have that rather than nothing.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. You wouldn't think that Sean Cassidy Wasp would have ever came out, but it's out on CD.
Oh, did that get a physical reissue? Really?
It's available on Amazon as a
on demand.
seat on demand.
Yeah.
But it sounds freaking great.
Oh, you got one?
Oh my! It's a Utopia album with Sean Cassidy singing.
Yeah.
There's all these Todd Rundgren songs on it. If you're a Utopia fan, I know we're going on a tangent. You've got to look for that Sean Cassidy album called Wasp. That is total Utopia.
I second that.
But yeah, go to Amazon, and I don't think it's very much money, but it's an on-demand, it's a CDR, but Todd, it's off the tapes. It's not, it doesn't sound bad.
Yeah.
You know, you think maybe it's
I have a couple of those. They're fine.
Right. But you would think that it was coming off like maybe vinyl or something. No, it's fine. And if that's the only way you can get a real digital copy of it, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's worth getting. It's a strange record, though. Yeah. I'd like to look at that album sometime because no one would be looking at that either.
That would be a good album to do, like, put together a panel and say, okay, this is your job. Everybody listen to this album and come back.
Would you consider...
Sean Cassidy, I'm not going to listen to that.
No, Todd, it's brilliant.
I know.
If you would listen to that record, I know we're on a tangent, but we got a couple minutes. What would you classify that as? Is that a power pop record?
I think I'd probably start there for the lack of anywhere else to go.
Because I could see putting that on This Is Power Pop and throwing it out to the panel.
That's a good idea.
And have everybody come back. So after we do the Raspberries, and I couldn't tell you who's on that. I have no idea. I haven't even looked at it again.
I am.
Okay. What we'll do the Raspberries, the Plimsolls after that, and then Sean Cassidy Wasp.
Listen to it again and make sure you think it qualifies as power pop.
I think it does.
I think it does.
His version of Rebel, I think it does. And Utopia, I mean, they're damn near a power pop band. So it just depends upon what...
That self-titled Utopia would be a good one for that.
On the Network Records from 1982. Yeah. That one's going to be on the list too eventually.
Okay, good.
But like I said, This Is Power Pop show will be once a month. I mean, we'll see what the group wants to do. It could go every couple weeks. But I'm going to throw out records, predetermine these records, and issue whoever wants to do it. Hopefully, it's a record they've never heard before, and we're going to throw it out to everybody, and everybody's going to come back and see how they feel about it. I'm really looking forward to this because there's a lot of power pop stuff I haven't heard that I'd like to, throw out there. There's so much great stuff out there, Todd.
Yeah.
That no one looks at. Just a sad, sad world. But anyway, I'd say that Todd and I we gave all these records, I gave all mine 4 or 5. You did too, right? Or 4.5?
Yeah, the lowest I went was 4.5. So
you can't go wrong with any of these records. If you can find them, check them out. And if you find them and you check them out, leave a comment, So, I don't know. I'm good.
Yeah.
What a great discussion. I'm glad we waited. But I love these records. And I want to tell everybody out there who's watching or even watches this video, the more you listen to these records, the more the better they sound and the catchier they are. And they can stand repeat listenings and you won't get fatigued by them.
If you've never heard them before, you'll be surprised how good they are. Mm-hmm. And how fully formed they are right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Not sounding like anyone else.
No. But then they do. They sound like 5 different bands
they
that
don't,
were
and
caught in a blender. Right. They don't, but they do.
Yeah.
But anyway.
That's a good way of putting it.
There you go. Todd before we go, I've already plugged stuff in the beginning. That's why I like to put all the up front. I don't have to say anything at the end. I get all my crap out of the way. Anything coming up for you that you need to promote?
Totally unprepared, but one of the most recent things I did was I was on Peter Kerr's channel, Rock Daydream Nation, and me and Peter and Tim Derling talked about Rush Power Windows for an hour, and that was a really good discussion. We had a really good time.
Todd's favorite album.
My favorite Rush album,
Kids,
right? And
make note.
And my favorite Rush song, Marathon, was given the Rush fans Rush Roundtable treatment, and I hosted that episode. And Ryan Murphy's also on that episode, and we talked about Marathon for a little while, for about a half an hour, and that's highly recommended. The Rush fans Rush Roundtable is always highly recommended. And what else? Oh, the U2 series on Ryan's Final Destination. Even if you think you don't like
that's
U2,
true.
Even if you think U2 jumped the shark or whatever you think about U2, we're having a ball doing those episodes.
And we're getting close to wrapping that up.
Yeah, you will enjoy watching those. So they're very long. But
make sure you go to the restroom first.
Yes.
Get your snacks ready. Get cozy in your chair. And then go for it.
And we're doing another one tomorrow.
We're looking at, I should have some props.
Tomorrow, well, not to give any spoilers, but we're looking at the last 2 studio albums.
Which is the last studio album from 2017? Is that right? Whatever it's called. See, I know what Songs of Experience.
Yeah.
And these are like 2 of the kids, just so you know. And then this, I'll show you the cover, but
I only have this
one, which is
I only have an electronic copy of that.
And this is Larry and his son.
But
so it's not something weird.
If you think those last 2 U2 albums aren't worth talking about, you might be surprised. We're going to talk about them anyway.
I'm going to say that I like one a lot more than the other.
I like one more than the other too, but I have thoughts, and they're complicated.
I've got thoughts. And the only other thing before we wrap it up is that, yes, if you are one of those people like me who went to U2 and I got to Unforgettable Fire, and then after that I was done. Yes, I've heard stuff off of Joshua Tree. How could you not hear it? They played that album to death. But that being said, for someone who had written them off, there are so many great records after that. And I have nothing against Unforgettable Fire, but there are albums that just blow Unforgettable Fire away. I still have to say, well, I think War is
You
still my
reassess-
favorite,
You
but I
reassessed one
love
of their
Octoon
albums.
Babies, though. I
And
love that record.
I'm waiting for the Unforgettable Fire reassessment by Grant Arthur because it really should come.
I'm going to have to rank them. I haven't ranked them yet. But, you know, Pop, I think's a stinker. I mean, there's probably something good on it, but I didn't.
That turned out to be a better album than I thought it was.
Yeah, I used to have it on vinyl. I wish I would have kept it.
Yeah.
I think it was 2 LPs. It was, yeah, it'd probably be worth some money now.
Probably.
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? All right, cool. Well, on behalf of Todd Evans and I, or on behalf of I and Todd, I don't know how I want to sign it off. Todd and I appreciate everyone coming on and making comments and check these records out. Todd, do you need to add anything else to this?
No, I just if you have never heard them before, you won't be sorry trying to listen to these on Spotify or wherever. Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I'm all mealy mouthed. I can't talk now.
Easy to like.
Easy to like. So on that, I'm gonna say goodnight, everybody. Todd, hang on so we can get something on the books. And then good night, everybody. Leave a comment. Check these records out. And please leave a comment. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.